So, welcome to the MindBody webinar with James Duggan.
Thank you.
Hello, James. How are you?
Yes. I'm very well. This is about time. Looking forward to this.
Isn't it? It's going to be good. People get to experience our conversations that we usually have for about 4 hours. Obviously, obviously, we're going to shorten this down a bit, like to 1 hour, because we're talking about food. But we've obviously got loads of other stuff to talk about with our other podcasts that we'll do down the line. And we were just before we come on, we was talking about your top, because I was actually thinking about, I wanted a MindBody project top like that. so the next actual one we do next month, I'm gonna have I'm gonna make sure I have one of those with the MindBody project one, and then we can both wear them next time. So, but you've been good though, yeah.
I hope they can see the whole thing, because it's mind culture up here, and it's be better always.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So our motto at Mind Culture is, we look to be better in all aspects of our lives at all times. So we're always seeking improvement consistently.
Yeah, exactly. that's us too, definitely, over the years.
Yes, that's how. I mean, we've been at this together on our journey together. We met in 2010 on our master practitioner.
Yeah.
So that's 11 years, mate. That's
11 years, and our conversations have led us to where we are today, because the amount of conversations that we've had that have made us we've bounced off each other, and it's made us think about hey, hang on a minute, that's a good idea. I'm going to start researching this, and it's helped me develop. And then I'll come up with some ideas to you, and you go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go and do that. Supply me some info, and we've bounced off each other. So and then now we've both become NLP trainers after all this time. So I've done this in October. So so we're going to be doing. So we will be doing some courses. We will be doing some courses later down the line. But today we're going to talk about food and mood. So food and mood we're going to talk about today. Now, food is one of the most regular behaviors that we do that's going to actually affect our state. And so that's why I sort of covered this today. So the MindBody project covers 5 different things. 1's mindset, 2's physical activity, 3's nutrition, which we're going to talk about today. 4 is alkaline fluids, and then 5 is breathing, so oxygen in the body. But nutrition's, as I said, one of the most regular behaviors. Everybody does it, but some people are doing it a bit in a way that's actually going to serve them not very well, aren't they? And today, we've got some questions which we're going to go into. Let me just come up with these. Right. So the first question to us is, how do I improve my mood with food? So I'll let you have a respond to that. What would you say? And then I will come up with what I think.
I would go into, and I've shared this with you before, I have a theory which says that when we're born, if we're not born ill or with any kind of deficiencies, we're born at ease. So we're as a species, our default state of being is being at ease, which is, everything working well, everything, and then hence the word dis-ease, because food, as it is supposed to be our fuel.
Yeah.
Now, if you take an unleaded fuel and you put it in a Ferrari, no matter how good the car is, no matter how fantastic the Ferrari is, it's not going to perform properly. It's actually probably not even going to be as good as, after a while, it'll be half as good as, the next guy's banger, because, it's got the wrong fuel inside of it. And the same thing does as human beings. You know, we're born at ease. We start fueling our body with, and I want to state that it's not anybody's fault. You know, it's just a lack of awareness of what to do and how to do it. And we get into problems so that we can learn how to do these things, you know?
Yeah.
And then also we fill our bodies with all these foods that are irritating us and aren't supporting the system itself. And then we start to detolerate into dis-ease. And then if you think about the word dis-ease, we're not at ease. And if you're not at ease, then your state of being, and as we both know as NLP trainers, your state determines your performance, it determines your behavior. And if you're in a poor state, whether it's in regards to external circumstances or the fuel you're putting in your body, it's going to determine everything. So your mood, your food definitely affects your mood and puts you into a state of dis-ease eventually. And dis-ease has very, very many levels to it. So sometimes it's mild and sometimes it's chronic. But either which way, the person isn't at ease.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to bounce off of that because, like, again, this is what people have asked us. But so the mind, whatever you do with the mind affects the body. Whatever you do with the body affects the mind. So there's someone called Dr. Joel Furman who, like, so I'm going to give you some practical stuff now. So one of the things he says, because he promotes the Nutritarian Diet. Yeah, it's a Nutritarian diet. So the basis of that is like following something called G-BOMBS. So G-BOMBS is an acronym. So you've got greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So those things there should be what your main thing is that you're actually doing. So that's every single day. So you can have like berries and seeds for your cereal, say. Greens are gonna, I mean, like there's so much research that he was coming out with. So greens are the best protection against any disease. Yeah, so 20% reduction in heart attacks and strokes, especially the green cruciferous vegetables. So they offer the best protection of breast cancer out of any foods. And again, it's same with anti-aging, premature. So anyone that's prematurely aged, what will happen if you start eating these predominantly in your diet, it reverses you back to what your actually age is. This is incredible. So this is what the scientists have realized. So these type of foods of actually reversing people back their age to what they should be, right, if they've prematurely aged. But like there's so many things that like people do. So they'd have so much processed foods in their diet, and you've got to understand that those type of foods are actually going to cause problems with your mind, because you, like you said, your mind's not functioning properly because your body's not functioning properly. So you've got your microbiome in the gut, and if you don't look after your gut, then the rest of your body, your system is absolutely falling apart here. So like what you said, you've got to take care of your fuel in your body, because like, as I said, it's issues are going to happen. Issues are coming your way.
It's the major.
Yeah. So it's, as I said, it's that's the things that should be happening. And like, it takes us on to our next question, which is like, as a beginner, what should I focus on doing first when changing my diet around? So let's say if someone's had, because like I went into Asda yesterday, I went like just going shopping, and I'm looking at other people's baskets. You should see what's in there, man. There's just there's so much stuff, and I'm sitting there going, there's nothing there that's nutritious. You've got to focus on nutrients, because do you remember when I come to yours when we were filming the Eating for Mental and Physical Health course? I went to yours, and this is where I really started learning about nutrition, actually, when I was making this course. Because I went to you guys, you and Joe, and then I went to the uni and got educated from the lifestyle departments, sitting there with the nutritional therapists and taking all, like, it's pretty similar to what we're saying. But I remember like sitting there, and I had Joe gave me some food, and I said, "Nah, Joe, I can eat more than that." And then he put another spoonful, and I go, "Nah, Joe, I can eat more than that." He put another spoonful there, and then all of a sudden I realized I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat it all. I was like, and then it's like, but you guys sort of like, it just like said to me and taught me, like, listen, if you have all the nutrients that you need, you're going to be full, because your cells are the ones that telling your brain we need food. But if you keep eating food it's not nutritious, then your cells are going to keep crying out for food, and then you're going to overeat, and then that's how people then get out of shape, and all the rest of the issues happen, because you're eating all the processed foods, all the sugar, all the dairy, which is not the nutritious foods that your body actually needs to actually function properly. So the first things that you, as I said, comes onto the G bombs again. That should be the focus of your diet. So all of that stuff, the G bombs, focus on that. Implement that more into your food, because then if you have the nutrients, then you're not going to feel as hungry, and then the calories that you take on are going to come down, because you're not as hungry as what you were before. So that's the first thing I'd focus on. So what would you say? What would someone, if they're at a beginner level, someone at a beginner, and they're sitting there and they're going, what do I do first? Because this is a lot of information. What would you?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, and it takes me back to when just before you came over, a few months before, about 6 months before that, Joe and I were really suffering. Joe is my brother, by the way, for people who don't know and watching this. And Joe and I were really suffering. We didn't have this lifestyle of indulgence consistently. We ate fruits. We were relatively balanced, that we thought of then. But we'll have chest infections that will last 3 months, and they were happening 3 times a year. I became homebound. And if you remember, we were trying to build a business. We were trying to build our business. And I had to call you once and say, mate, I can't do this anymore. I have to focus on my body, because I couldn't, back to even linking to the question of before, my attention span was shot. I could barely watch a half an hour video without, losing focus, or even an audio. So eventually, knowing the background that we had, I knew one thing for certain, which was energy flows where attention goes. So I had to stop thinking about business in particular and start focusing on my health. One of the first things I did was make sure everything that was coming that my attention was on was health-wise. And I found out that as great as necessary as the remineralization and nutritional process is, elimination was the first process. People don't realize that we're carrying around in our body stuff from childhood, old stuff in our organs, stuck in our organs, stuck in our intestines. And I didn't know what to do, and a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll just buy some laxatives, and that doesn't really work, because for the laxatives to work, your organs, your cells, they need certain minerals, they need certain nutrition. So, and the program my brother and I actually do for people is called the elimination and remineralization process, where we, first of all, get people to rehydrate their bodies, get them to, because a lot of people are dehydrated and they don't drink enough water as it is. And your organs, your cells, they all need water. They need so much water to do the job they need. So I would say to any beginner, check your hydration levels. How much water are you consuming? How often do you do and when I say detox, a lot of people think you have to go on there are very many types of detoxes, and sometimes just drinking water is a great start. However, we did that. We went on a 3-day water fast, and I de-inflammated, but I was de-inflammated, but I still wasn't eliminating all the the gunk that was stopping my organs from working properly. So eventually I found Dr. Sebi's food list, and he promotes electric food and cutting out a lot of foods like wheat and sugar and certain types of foods that were irritating the body and not allowing, and then he started recommending nutrient dense foods, like quinoa and fonio and stuff like that, and greens and seeds and certain. And then the minute we started, because we started cutting out, like most people who are ill and trying to find a solution, my brother and I, we cut out most of the stuff we were eating. We cut it down to the bare minimum, but we needed nutrition. So the minute we started eating nutrient-dense foods, the elimination process, started to happen on its own. And, people's bodies are different. We're brothers, we have very similar genes, and some people even think we're twins when they see us now because of the genetic expression. But at that time, the rate in which he was going to the bathroom, that I was going to the bathroom, were very far off, and the elimination process kicked in at varying rates. But the key to that elimination process was remineralization through different sources. So you need to, and we stopped looking at stuff in the generic way. We stopped looking at vitamins and stuff. We looked at the human body in regards to minerals. It's made up of 102 minerals, and we thought, oh, okay, 102 minerals. They're the micronutrients and the macronutrients. And we started, fueling our body with the macro and micronutrients and looking for specific foods that had the nutrients that we needed. So we will look for things like tamarind that was mostly magnesium and iron, and and all these and things like quinoa that is actually in some circles known as a complete protein, which just basically means it has all the 8 or 9 amino acids that are supposed to be the building blocks of the human body. But what we did was we started doing these things, and then we also went into which we'll touch on later, things like intermittent fasting to give our body a break from digesting all these pleasure foods and all these foods that were not so nutritious, that were already in the body. So that once our body started, our cells started gaining the nutrients it needed, then it had the tools it needed to do the job it needs. The body is a fascinating system that self-heals as long as it has the tools it needs to do the job. So to answer your question, I would say start with a slight hydrating yourself with water, and probably go on a juice fast, but make sure the juice is freshly made and none of those cotton things.
Yeah. Did you say you went on a 3-day water fast?
Yeah, that was one of the first things we did. We went on a 3-day water fast. We were suffering so bad, Eldine, that that 3-day water fast didn't mean anything, as long as I wasn't, it reduced the amount of dis-ease I was feeling. But I could only do it, mate, if I could have lived on just water at that point, because of how bad I was feeling, I would have. But it's not possible. You need minerals. But what was happening is that 3-day water fast stopped my body from expending so much energy trying to digest food. So it took me from, the heightened dis-ease and allowed me, to fall back into at least some relative ease, and
see, the interesting thing from that though is that a lot of people are already like near enough on a water fast most of their life because they don't drink enough fluids. So you just said you were feeling bad doing that, and just think there's a lot of people out there.
What I meant is when I said a water fast, which means that I wasn't eating anything, I was just drinking water.
Oh, okay. So you're just drinking what I was going to say.
Water. I was drinking water without any food.
Okay, right, okay. Yeah, because I was going to put a disclaimer as well, saying like, by the way, do not like, yeah, do not do not do that with it in a making sure you're in an environment.
Water is essential.
Yeah. So yeah, just to clarify that up then. But the main thing to take away from that though is you changed because you was in a position where you were feeling you again, your health was suffering. You changed everything around, including business, everything in your life, to focus on health, because you knew that if your health's down, then you can't do anything else. So that's, I mean, we're going to come on to mindset in another podcast, but like your mindset, which is the biggest, is 80% of the stuff that I focus on, because once that's sorted, then there's nothing that can stop you. But you just went, right, my mindset is here now. The focus, where focus goes, energy flows. That is where I'm staying right now. And then everything else after that, when I've got the energy to actually do what I need to do, then I can focus on other things. But right now I need the energy back. I can't go on like that. Yeah. So that's that's one of the, so that's the thing, as I said, mindset, which we'll talk about in another podcast. But that, as I said, that's good that you, again, a real life example.
I changed my mind
and everything around.
You know, it's like what I was thinking about.
You're going to try and bring that t-shirt in for everything, isn't you? So
you know, I love it. You know?
So what right, so someone else has asked, what food groups should I cut out? So what food group should I cut out? I'll go on to you first of all with that one, and then I'll tell you what I think about that. So when someone's like wanting to, we have mentioned them already, but when someone's wanting to, like, let's say beginner, coming into this again, this is going to come a lot with mindset as well, because like the average person is not, even if they try and have the good intention of saying, right, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat this, because I was just listening to someone called Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson from Bright Line Eating, talking about food addiction, because and how people will go around things like that, even if people have the good intention to do it. This is where a mindset is going to come in. So when someone's saying cut out food groups, how's a beginner going to go around that?
I won't pussyfoot around the subject, because it's very essential. You know, like I said, like in the last question, I was talking about elimination, and it's not just eliminating the gunk in your body, it's eliminating the things that you do that cause this. And one of the first things we cut out was sugar. I mean, even before we learned about remineralizing your body, we knew that sugar wasn't good for you. I mean, I grew up with two different sets of grandparents. And one of on my mom's side, my mother's mother, she was a traditionalist, and she used to always complain growing up about how much sweets and sugar we took. And she used to give us this African remedy. It was really bitter, man, you know, and it was called agbo-jedi-jedi. And any Nigerian listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about, you know? Yeah, you know, and we kind of grew up on it, and she would kind of coerce us into having some. And I thank her from the bottom of my heart for it, because it built a foundation for the things that we know today, you know? But it's because of the amount of sugar in the modern diet. You know, so when Joe, my brother, and I cut out sugar, we noticed that, you know, we couldn't have anything processed, you know, so processed foods is the next one, because every processed food that we came across, even including the, you know, our common everyday baked beans, was filled with sugar. Now, sugar is a killer, because it creates inflammation in the body. And anybody that knows anything about the human body knows that inflammation is the source of all disease. You know, once there's inflammation anywhere, it becomes the source of disease. I mean, I remember reading an article once about smoking. And I mean, that's another thing people should cut out, you know. But I remember that until I think it was 1926 or so, that smoking, there wasn't really that much cancer from smoking. But then the smoking industry realized that chewing tobacco was more addictive than smoking tobacco, you know, and the only difference between both was sugar. So guess what? They started putting sugar in cigarettes. And guess what happened? You can imagine what happened as a result. The cancer rates from smoking cigarettes skyrocketed, you know? And that's just to go to tell you that, you know, sugar is a no-no, but then the human body needs sugar. And this is where I tend to disagree with certain doctors, because the human body needs sugar, and then they'll tell you that, oh no, just have sugar in certain quantities, because, and then they compare refined sugar and say that it's the same as fructose.
Yeah, fructose, yeah.
But if you look back through human evolution, we've always had fruits. We've always had fructose. We've always had fruits in our diets. So, you know, but refined sugar came with the modern age, just like a lot of the diseases that we have today, you know? So I would say cut sugar, cut out, well, you know, recently I've also found out, and that's not recently, in the last 5-6 years, I found out that wheat is another one that I've limited my consumption of wheat completely. I actually completely eliminated it for my whole body to be able to recover, because it goes back to, you know, the growing and stuff, but we won't have time for all that right now. But, you know, wheat is also another source of inflammation. And then most of the stuff that's made with wheat actually has sugar in it. Our cakes, our fruit pies, our meat pies, you know, all the stuff that has, they mix, you know, the batty with the sugar. And when we stopped it, you know, and then this is where, you know, your which we'll get into later, your mindset comes into play. Because when we stopped it, I'd set the intention to only eat things that were conducive for my body. But every now and again, and this is something we teach in another set of classes, is your communication with your unconscious mind and your mind in general. And every now and again, I'd walk past a cake shop, you know, and I'll feel the intense desire for some cake. But because I've set the intention and we, you know, I've programmed myself to see those things and to see them for what they really are, which is causes of disease, I think, oh, why is my body showing me this? So as a result, I started learning to make these things myself. We have to take a lot of personal responsibility. And I use the word responsibility in a very, being able to respond.
Hang on a minute, the audio.
You know, to be able to respond to your own desires.
Audio is a little bit.
Can you still hear me? Am I with you?
Yeah, I can.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
It was just going off a little bit there. So yeah, so it's just about communicating with the unconscious mind. Yeah, communicating with the unconscious mind and making sure that, like, keep going.
Yeah, I was saying, so, you know, so walking past these cake shops, and I'd already set the intention in my mind and programmed myself not to see those things for what they really are. So then, which is causes of disease in my body, you know. So then what I'll do is, and then listening to my unconscious mind, I started to take, and people need to understand, taking personal responsibility, which is not just, you know, being responsible, but being able to respond to your own desires and being able to fulfill those desires without the consequence of disease. So what I would do is, yes, I'll acknowledge to myself that I feel like some pie, I feel like some cake, you know, and because I don't want wheat, I started to research and realize that there are alternative flours, you know, because wheat is a grain, and there are other flours that we can use as as a replacement for wheat. So then I'd go home And I'd use, YouTube is a great resource. And I'd use YouTube and say, how do you make cake without, because I cut out dairy as well. How do you make cake without dairy? And how do you make cake without sugar?
Yeah.
So then we started making cakes with dates, and we found alternatives, and there are these alternatives.
Yeah.
You just have to be determined to find them. So I'll say, cut out sugar, replace them with fruits, replace them with, it's really hard to find real honey. It's really hard, and when you do find it, it's very expensive, but it is very worth it. And that's a question that's something we'll cover later on, but it's very worth it, because at the end of the day, that expense won't be spent on the doctor, it will be spent on you. And it'll be far less than going to the doctors, So those are the two major things I'll say cut out. Refined food, processed foods, sugar, and wheat.
Yeah, I like sugar. See, the thing is with like sugar's this thing, when you put sugar on your tongue, so your taste buds change every 9 to 14 days. But when you put sugar or even sweetener on your tongue, is straight direct connection to like your, what is it called, nucleus I can't remember what it is. Nucleus I can't remember. What is it? But the addictive, but the addictive centers of your brain anyway. So it goes straight through to there, which creates dopamine. So sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So that there are rats that are addicted to the cocaine, but if you put sugar in with them, and the cocaine, the rats will go to the sugar because it's more addictive. Now, food companies know this, and they actually hire people to do this. They're hiring people now, and they're going into hospitals, and they're using machines to work out what happens in the brain with different ingredients. So they're testing different ingredients to see that the centers of the brain where you become addicted to their product. They are testing this now, and they're actually coming up with ways of making their foods more addictive for you to go after using the sugar. So, so this is something that's like going on now, especially with the processed foods. And there's something called MSG, monosodium glutamate, which they put to obviously that affects the taste buds as well, which they put in loads of processed foods, which then, if you didn't have that in there and you tried to eat some of those foods, you are going to puke up, because you're going to think that's absolutely disgusting. So they know that putting the sugar, putting the monosodium glutamate in there, the MSG in there, is actually going to make you addicted to their products. And the advertising that goes on, oh my God. So this is conditioned at an early age. This is something that the governments and all these people, if you look at the adverts that are going on TV now, they're either drugs or junk food. That's what the adverts are.
Yes.
Think of the best advert. This even gets me. The best advert is the Coca-Cola advert at Christmas. The Coca-Cola.
Ask anybody what the best advert. They'll tell you Coca-Cola.
Yeah, the Coca-Cola. That is an amazing advert, because it gives everybody an amazing association with their product. Yeah. So this is this cleverest marketing, where they pretty much using NLP stuff. To put, like, as it said, a positive association, their association to their product, to good feelings. Yeah, so that they are extremely amazing at marketing. So the drug companies, that they're putting out things there that can solve all your problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to think about it this way as well. The other problem is with food is that you've got lobbyists. So you've got the lobbyists, you've got the food lobbyists. So you got sugar lobbyists saying, no, in the 70s, they were saying fat is the enemy. Fat is the enemy, not sugar. So what they did was they started lowering all the products with fat and say, look, and they're still doing it now, because people are still not aware of this. So lowering all the products down and saying, look, it's only got 25% fat, but then they chuck more sugar in there. Now, who do you think's writing the policies on that? because the government are not doing that, because they don't write the policies. The lobbyists write the policies in the think tanks. The think tanks, the government think tanks, are really corporations who create a non-profit entity where they tell the government, listen, we're smarter than you. We'll write your policies for free. We'll write all of that. We'll take the bill, and we've got smarter people than you. We will write all the policies for you. And their government go, well, yeah, all right, because it saves them a load of money doing that. But then who's really in charge of the policies? Because like 5 fruit and veg a day, I was sitting in there with the nutritional therapists, and all the speakers on there said, like, there's no scientific evidence to say 5 fruit and veg a day. It's much more than that. It's at least 10. So I don't know who's been telling. So, but the government decided, hey, we don't think people can do that. Or was it even the government that decided that?
The sound is breaking up a bit.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. Can you see me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'll keep talking this end till you get a better connection. Yeah, you can hear me now, yeah? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
yeah. So the government's essentially, they are not writing these policies. And as I said, when I was sitting there with a nutritional therapist, they were saying that all the researchers are saying no one's ever said 5 fruit and veg a day. The government decides from the research how they're going to write a policy. So they get the research from these nutritional therapists and the lifestyle departments at all the universities, and they go, well, nah, we're not having that though. We'll just tell them this. We'll just tell them 5 fruit, and we'll just tell them like orange juice, because like the guys over there at the think tank who's writing the policies, they don't agree with this, and so it's none of it's based on science. What they're telling people to do, and it's got loads of sugar in it. So you people having cans of tomato soup, loads of sugar in it, thinking it's healthy. Thinking it's healthy. Yeah, it keeps breaking up a little bit, but I'll keep talking. So that's a major issue. And then so sugar, cutting out sugar, food and mood. When you have sugar, what that does is that boosts up it really goes after your dopamine, the centers of your brain, the addictive centers of your brain, where you have dopamine rush. Yeah. But then what does your brain do when things are too high? Because your body likes homeostasis, which is a balance. It likes to have a balance. So if you got too much dopamine in your system, your body goes, right, we've got too much there. So now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to just ease off, and we're going to have to make the receptors less sensitive. We're going to have to take the receptors away. And therefore, your natural baseline level, feeling good level, is lower than what it was before. So therefore, when you don't have sugar, you feel awful. And this is how addiction happens. So that is the problem. So taking out the sugar, like you said, which causes disease galore, and the processed foods and the meat which is causing cancer, because it causes oopsie daisy, because it causes hormone IGF-1, so insulin like growth factors 1, which then causes the cancers. So the sugar with that, the meat products as well, causes the cancers. So like you said, the sugar, the processed foods, because it's got high fructose corn syrup in it, which is even more addictive than the sugar. And like as I said, the meat products, and as you said, the wheat, where the gluten causes inflammation and autoimmune diseases as well. So those things I would be looking to cut down, minimalize straight away. Because, and I did a YouTube study on this. I did a thing on myself, so you can go and have a look at that on YouTube. But those type of foods, especially sugar, causes a food addiction. You can go to www.foodfreedomquiz.com and go and find out if how addicted you are to to these, because a third of the population are really addicted to the food, where they have to have. So someone called Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, to do bright line eating, they cut out sugar and flour. So those two things, they just say no, just eliminate those two things straight away from your diet, because that causes a problem with leptin in their brain and ghrelin as well. So it just completely messes up their whole system, so that they are.
Did I give you,
Sorry, go on.
sorry, did I give you the book Muchalus Diet? The Muchalus Diet by Professor Arnold Ehright?
No.
Because oh wow, he has this was written in the 1800s. This stuff has been known for ages, and apparently he died the minute he released the book. But you know,
Dr. Study as well, isn't it?
I know. But he wrote a book called The Muchalus Diet, and it's on there. It's online. People can look for it. And wheat and sugar and a lot of these processed foods, he talks about them, and he talks about how they affect the body, and he wasn't even a doctor. He was a professor who was doing research at the time, and he did it on himself, and he has a story of his life as well. And I'm sure if anyone searches online, they'll find the book called The Muchalus Diet.
Yeah. So I mean, those are the things. As I said, So let's just summarize. So sugar, you have to cut out, and sweeteners.
One more thing I'd like to point out of the sugar, for anyone who's suffering from sugar addiction, is yeah.
So that again, go on.
Everything. Yeah. But what I replaced it with was can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Anyone suffering from sugar addiction should try what we did, which was replace it with dates. So every time you get the sugar craving, because dates and bananas, but not, I don't want to say bananas as much, burro bananas, because there's so many hybrid bananas, but burro bananas, they're more expensive, they're smaller, and they're kind of, in Nigeria, they call them Yoruba bananas. But, you know, around the world, they're known as burro, which is B-U-R-R-O, bananas. Between that and dates, it helps balance the blood sugar, so that then you don't crash so much, which is what causes the addiction itself. Because then people eat so much sugar and then they crash and think, I need a sweet or chocolate bar, or, you know. So just, you know, have some dates. They're common and sold all over the place. Right now, it's the Muslims. All my Muslim friends are fasting, and so a lot of them consume dates. It's really common in the Islamic culture as well. And so, you know, I used to, while I was in London, I'd go to those Arab shops and just buy dates, and even in the supermarkets, they now sell dates because everybody. But it is a great way to balance your blood sugar without crashing so much. So that's just a little bit to put out there for anyone suffering.
I remember, like as I said, that Joe's super creamy surprise. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Delicious. Yeah, that's delicious.
That's on the eating for mental and physical health course. That was with you guys. That was so nice. I need to get another one of those, because that was awesome. So like sugars and all that, like as I said, that's what we cut out. But then, as I said, replace it with G-bombs, or the stuff that you were saying, the dates and the burro bananas. So it's always about replacing it, because you can't just not eat anything. You have to replace it with stuff. So if the meat, for example, when you're cutting out the meat, the protein that you get from beans, nuts, and what's the other one? Beans, nuts, and the greens. So if you replace that with that, then you'll find that you don't need as much meat. So it's about replacing it. It's about putting more of that in there and then replacing it. So another question, which brings it's the same question really, is which food should I avoid feeding my children? The
same things we've just.
There's someone like, because people have a bit of a funny one with this, because I was saying, they were saying to me, a lot of parents are saying to me, you can't, you're being really awful to the kids by not letting them have sweets. You're not letting them have sweet. You're not letting them have sweets. So while their friends have sweets, you're not letting them have sweets. That's what they were saying to me. Now, the problem is diabetes. So diabetes
Yes.
is such a problem for the children now. We're getting at a stage where almost like in about next 5 to 10 years, half the children in the UK are going to have diabetes. Half of them. Yeah, that's not how did that happen? That happened.
Lifestyle.
It's because of the damn sugar. Stop giving your kids sugar.
Yes.
It's not good for them. You're actually
But I'll also challenge parents. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, which is the same thing. Pretty much what I was going to just say. I say to the parents, well, look, kids. The funny thing with kids, though, because I've worked with children and I've worked with them with nutrition. And the funny thing with children is if you make the other foods taste nice, the kids actually want to eat healthy. The kids actually want to eat healthy. It's quite incredible. It's like, I think there's like, been like, because I'm working in children's home, and I've got like my nieces and nephews, and they actually, if you put like some stuff outside of that, if they see that you're eating it, it's the parent's problem. They see the parent eating healthy and making the foods taste nice, the kids actually want to eat healthy. They actually want to. The problem that I've always found is always the parents that are the problem. They're the ones that are stopping the children from eating healthy because the kids want to. The kids actually want to, which is like an amazing surprise. The kids will, they're fair enough. They will want to go and eat a snack and all that every so often. Fair enough. But like but the thing is, if you show them like nuts and seeds and other things, you can have some of this. You can have fruit. You can have as much as this if you want. The kids will actually prefer to go for that. Smoothies. Kids love smoothies. They at the garden centers, like because we had to work in some thing called Eco Works where they were actually growing their own food, and when the kids get involved in growing the food, then the kids actually eat it. They like eating it. They like seeing what they're like, being involved in the process. They're very interested in it. So kids, if you get the kids involved in the cooking and teach them and show them this is good for the bones, this is good for your heart, this is good for the stomach, this is good for the brain, this will help you think better. Because things like ADHD, which is essentially too much sugar, that's all that is. Too much sugar, that is. You stop giving them sugar, then they do not behave that way. And this is someone who's working with kids who behave badly. Change their food around, then they stop doing that because they haven't got energy that's going all the way like this all this time. So that is more of a parent's issue because the kids will, if they will follow what the parents do congruently. This has happened over the 20 years I've been working in nutrition and health and all that. It's usually the parents have got the issue, not the kids. Go on.
Now, I'll try not to be so harsh on the parents. Plus, because
they were kids at one point, so they've not taught. But if you work on them, if you work on the parents, the kids will change. The kids will change their food if the parents do. So work on the parents, and then the kids will do it because they don't buy the food.
But they build a kind of it builds a bond between the parents and the children, because now parents are now learning that certain things aren't good for them. Now don't try and be so authoritarian about it. Just create a culture between you and the kids. As you said, educate them, let them know what's good for what. Let them know what to do when they have a tummy ache. Let them know what they can have in abundance, and sometimes, the kids, they want to drink these juices and they want to indulge in it. Like you saw me just now having some pineapple juice, and they want to enjoy these things. And I made that myself, but they want to enjoy these things too. But if they pick up a carton drink and they're drinking it all, you say, oh, don't finish that. It's got too much sugar. It's not good for you. But then you know, it's because, you know, they're crashing. But now if they're drinking pineapple juice or apple juice or whatever juice you make at home, you know, the only problem is, oh, well, you're going to have to make the next batch, you know, or those will be, and those will be cultures that you, and then if the parents are now, and sometimes the parents are so ingrained in their lifestyle and all these, the culture that they've developed as people growing up, you know, then their children, having learned these new things and feeling better, can also support the parents. Like say, mommy, remember we said no cotton juice, so why did you buy this? No, we're going to go out, we're going to buy apples, we're going to buy this, we're going to make this, and have a day where you guys all just make fruit juices and stock it in the freezer. You know, like I said, you have to take the personal responsibility first. Accept that your body is going to crave, because, you know, we have a brain inside our gut. And if you give it Coke and it gets used to surviving off Coke, when it sends a signal to you up here for more, it'll send a signal for more of what's already there. And those parents already have a lot of all the bad stuff we're talking about in their gut. So their gut is already sending these, it's still going to be sending these messages to their brain consistently, you know, to have these things. I mean, I went through this with my mom, you know, she had a terrible Coke habit, you know, and she's relatively good with everything else, but the Coke habit was ridiculous, you know. She at night, you know, she'd sit down, have her meal, and then, you know, have some tea, but she's gonna have a bottle of Coke, you know. So then I started adding certain types of drinks into her diet, you know, certain juices, certain milks with dates inside of her, you know, date rich. And she'll drink the date rich thing and say, oh, this is too sweet, it's going to make me fat. And I'm like, no, mommy, this can't make you fat, you know, it's the Coke that will make you fat, you know. And then I'll just consistently reinforce, but I didn't try and force her to stop. I can't remember, you
can never like you like you said, this is where we'll come on to another podcast, but the mindset has to be there. But the work that you have to do is I said 80% of it's mindset, because once your personal mindset is sorted and you're congruent, which we'll talk about as well, then people will respond to that congruency of you eating that healthy stuff. So and your goals and what you want to achieve, and how well and good you feel from doing it all. So they will respond to that. But that's something that's got to come from, if it's children. I mean, children, as I said, a lot of parents were using the thing that, well, I can't be bad to my child as a reason why they would do that. And it was like, well, the children actually they usually want to eat healthy once they see what it's actually doing for them. And as I said, you can make things taste nice. And if, for example, the way that my mum used to make the salads, it didn't taste very nice. But so I went and made I said, right, I'm making the salad. I'm making it. So I would put lemons on it. I'd get flax seeds. I'll put them on it with a little bit of cold pressed olive oil, or flaxseed oil. Put that all on it. Mix it all up and put a load of stuff in there. And put some pine nuts in there and some So all of that. But then when the kids had that, they were going, wow, never usually tastes like this. I like this. They'll eat it. And I was like, all right, I'll save you some for tomorrow. Things like breakfast in the morning. So I always used to make my niece like fruit and yogurt. So she wanted to take away the cow's milk yogurt, and she would love it. But then I'll put some chia seeds on that, and some nuts on that all as well that she could have as well. And yeah, she would always want that. But if they never ever made that, then they would never know it exists. And this is where this is where it's sort of bad in a way, because it's generational. Because the parents are not aware of this. They're not aware. Some of them just not aware, and they just go, oh, okay. So as soon as you show them, they're, oh, okay, yeah, that's a lot better. All right, I'll do it. but then when they're aware, then their kids will be aware, because the parents at the end of the day will buy the food. So you have to sort of get them on board to actually, or otherwise the kids cannot eat what they want to eat. So as soon as the parents are on board, it's like the parents, you just realize, taste this, because we used to do loads of cooking groups to show people how to take sugars and things out of it, how to replace it with things like fruit and dates and things. Once they know this, then they can take the thing home with them, and then the kids will eat, even if initially they were resistant to it. Once they see the parents eating it and saying, "Oh, look at this! Look, come over here. Let me show you how it's made and what we're doing." Then they get interested in it, and just to get the children interested in actually how the food's made, and making things from scratch rather than using all these sauces with loads of stuff in it. Forget the government's stupid 5-a-day traffic light nonsense system that we've got here, because that is the dumbest. The person who wrote that is the dumbest person, should be nowhere near anything to do with nutrition. Nowhere near, because that is just stupid. It's got nuts as like saying high in fat.
Attention of the person.
Yeah.
What was that person's intention? It wasn't to keep us healthy. That's for sure.
It was just, it was nothing to do with that. Your screen's frozen a bit. look at your screen's frozen, looking angry. It's gone there. But yeah, the researchers was just essentially saying, when I was sitting there with that nutritional therapist with the updated training that we were doing, they were just saying the government's been bought out, so it's not going to change. They're going to tell people traffic light systems and they just said it's a load of crap. I don't know who's, as I said, it's just something which is stupid. Because seeds, that's why people are not eating seeds and things that are actually protecting them from cancer and making them feel good. It's like feeling good, and like mushrooms actually stop fat from producing in the body. So mushrooms actually stop that, and they stop 55% to like 80% reduction in cancer just from eating mushrooms. The berries are like all of them are anti-aging, you can use food as your medicine to reverse diseases, which is essentially what you've done and what you help other people with.
Yes. I mean, the father of modern day medicine, Hippocrates, because every medical practitioner must take a Hippocratic oath, and that's based on Hippocrates himself. And if you go on Google, and I challenge anyone to do this, go on Google and type up quotes from Hippocrates. One of my 2 favorite quotes are, "Your food should be your medicine, and your medicine should be your food." And the second one is, "Only a fool will give the responsibility of his health and well-being to somebody else." And that's the father of modern day medicine. So it seems like I keep going on and on and on about personal responsibility, the ability to respond to your own person, and its own needs. Because yes, a lot of stuff we're talking about is general, but then people still have to pay attention to what their body desires, what their body requires, their own. Because there are times when I just had some pineapple juice, and on the strictest of diets, if someone's ill, I actually don't recommend pineapples as a hybrid fruit because of certain things that we can't go into now. But my brother Joe, he can't touch pineapples to save his life. It irritates his mucous membrane. And there was a time when I couldn't take pineapples because it would irritate me. So, everybody's body is different, and we have to learn to respond to it. I mean, this is us talking about eating fruits regularly, but there's certain times you'll have some things and your body will cringe. And if it does, listen, respond. It's very important.
Personal responsibilities is you have to take personal risk. No one else is going to do it for you. This is another thing for mindset section or mindset podcast, because that is the key to everything. Once you have your mindset, then nothing stops you, nothing gets in your way. You don't have excuses. You're fully congruent, and you can make decisions quicker. We'll come on to that that podcast. I think we've got time for one more question. I've got a few more here. Let me have a look at which ones I will. Okay, so here's an important one. Actually, the last three are really important. But right, let's go into this one. So I struggle with healthy eating because of the cost.
Oh, I like.
What can I do? Because like a load of people, this is their big issue, because it's obviously there's a health inequality here, because you've a lot of people who can afford to go out and go and buy flax seeds, chia seeds, wheatgrass, spirulina, and vitamin D supplements and all that. And there's others who just cannot afford to do that. So how do we help these guys who don't have the cash to do that? I'm just going, before you answer that, I'm just going to say from my, this is to do with, again, we're going to touch on mindset again for me, because I was in a position where I think a few years ago, when I was having some this is where I got injured and everything went wrong in my life. And this is where I started writing some depression courses. But what I did, this is the personal responsibility part, and this is the mindset part. And I was in a really bad financial position. You're frozen up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So, but even when that happened, I somehow didn't change. I didn't change to like microwave meals. The food was, I still got my salads in. I still ate relatively healthy. It didn't change, because at the end of the day, you have to buy food. But the type of food didn't really change. It was more, I had to just focus on what meals I was having, or right, let's get some vegetables, because I can make a soup which is going to last a few days. Like that can last me 3 days. This can, rather than doing going right, I'm going to have a microwave meal for £1 and all that. I think this comes into the mindset thing about, I don't care if I've got a little bit of money, then I'm still spending it on the salads and the vegetables and stuff. Maybe I can't go and get the organic stuff, which I couldn't afford to do, but the research that has been done anyway hasn't been done on organic food. This has been done on GMO foods, and it's still flipping healthy, but it's just obviously not as healthy as the organic stuff, which is like sits in your body better, and it's more designed to be in your body. But still the GMO stuff was healthy enough to to get you through it. So from my point of view, it's still going to come into the category of mindset and personal responsibility, which is a theme that's running through here. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, then, James.
Yeah, it's really funny. I'm very happy that you could share your own personal experience, because that's exactly what happened with Joe and I. I mean, when what people don't realize is the further you go into dis-ease, and the further you go away from ease, the less you can earn. So if you remember, we've done our courses, our practitioner and master practitioner, and we're really excited, and we're trying to build our company. But I didn't have a 9 to 5. And I was trying to, so managing my coaching company and building my training company. After a while, I couldn't do any of those things. So even at one point, I even found myself on benefits, where I was getting maybe about £50 a week.
Yeah.
And
same here.
So, but what actually happened was, my brother and I learned to, yes, it was easier because we could combine, but what we found out, which is most important, was the more nutrition we got, the less food we needed.
Yeah.
So over a period of time, instead of me buying the cheap, and we went through the whole repertoire of just buying frozen foods, and at one point, but then I was getting ill. I'll get so ill, and I'll end up in the hospital, and I won't be able to do anything. And so not only was my time being taken up, but my health was deteriorating. So when we got onto this journey, I realized that the more, there was one whole year, a whole year, you know, and it's really amazing that this happened. But for a whole year, my brother and I had nothing but some fruits during the day, yeah, which was whatever seasonal fruits were available, some fruits during the day, and then because we were in London, and at the moment I'm in Nigeria, but because we were in London, you know, it gets cold at night, no matter what time of the year, you know, it gets cold at night. So we wanted some hot food, hence where we learned to create that creamy drink.
That everyone's got to try that.
Everyone's got to try it. You know?
That's really nice.
We made it.
The other thing
we made it.
I remember when I was there as well. The other thing that you did, you went and picked. Remember picking berries? We just went and picked berries for the day. So we went and picked loads of blackberries.
Yes, and would make stuff from blackberries.
There's a massive bowl of blackberries.
You remember that? That was brilliant. Yeah, we'd go to the park in Hendon, and people would look at us, and we'd go really early in the morning so that the bees won't be out and sting us. You know, so all the bees were still calm, they weren't irritable from the sun, and we'll go and pick berries. But prior to that, for a whole year, Joe and I, we spent it having this one meal, and it's really amazing that we could survive on one type of meal. It wasn't just one ingredient, but it was the same meal at night every day.
That's the one I had. That's the one I had, isn't it?
Yeah, dates with quinoa and
that evening meal, that other one that we recorded, because that was so nutritious, that you didn't need that much. And this is the thing; it's about nutrients.
A little mug, a little mug.
Yeah.
And we'll split an avocado, yeah, and have a little bit of chickpea paste, which is beans, a little bit of chickpea paste inside the avocado. And that was our dinner every day. And we'll finish it and go, and it's so little, and we'll go, whoo, I'm so full. And we all so full. We didn't look depleted, we didn't look malnourished. We as a matter of fact, we were looking, people would come round, and all the stuff that was wrong with me, all the lung problems, all the gut problems, all those things, they were easing off gradually. And people will come round, like my cousins and stuff, and I'll say, oh, this is all we've done, and this is all we've eaten. And they'll look at me like, that's a lie. You look too good to just be doing that. You know, and I'm like, please, you know. But that's the thing. When you have nutrient-dense foods, you don't need as much food, and your cells and your genes respond better, you know, and you're more active, you're more energetic. Joe and I will have that meal, and no matter how cold or how warm it was, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
And no matter how cold or how warm it is, we'll go for about 2 hours walk, which was something. Prior to that, I remember my cousin coming over once, and we'd just come back from about a 2-hour walk, and we'll just walk from Hendon to Hendon Park, round the Hendon, and Sunnyfield Park is really big. So we'll walk around Sunnyfield Park, walk back home, and we were never tired. And then I remember my cousin saying to me, wow, you guys are walking for hours. And I remember when I used to come round, you guys could barely carry your shopping bags from the shop to your house. I mean, I could barely even put the duvet cover in the duvet in the duvet cover without my shoulders feeling like they were going to fall off, you know? My body just wasn't working properly. But the more nutrients I got, the more oxygen was flowing through my body, the more my blood circulation was great, the more my muscles were working, the more my brain was functioning. Mate,
yeah.
Even right now, I feel really super hyper thinking about all of it. You know? And it's really fun. You know?
It's I mean, because it's quite like nutrient dense foods, like because like I've written a course on it, like the course Overcoming Depression for Good course. So I go through 20, I think it's about 27 reasons how the causes of depression. Yeah, and 3/4 of that is to do with food, nutrition.
Yes,
it's to do with nutrition. It's to do with either you're having too much of something, or you're having a lack of something. So it's those two things. That's what's going on with most of the, as I said, depression. The causes of depression. Even if you have a trauma, even if you have a trauma, it's not the trauma that does anything. It's not the trauma that's the issue. It's your behavior or your response to the trauma. And this is where people start going back into this eating sugars and all this crap. Because there was research done, the Kalulu tribe, Papua New Guinea, and they had they followed them through 10 years longitudinal study. They followed them through, and didn't have depression for 10 years. They had it. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So they had so the Kalulu tribe, like 10-year longitudinal study. So researchers followed them. They lived hard lives. They had high infant mortality. They were fighting against other gangs, so they would have deaths that way. But they found that like how they lived, they didn't have all the trauma from the deaths and all this and injuries and whatever diseases. They'll die off early. Some of them would anyway, because of how they were living. But they found that like when it comes to depression, they didn't have depression, didn't ever get depression. None of them, 10 years, not a single case, because of what they were doing. And so what they were doing, again, omega free, because they would catch fish. They would have organic foods because they were just getting foods off the land around them. Yeah, meat, they would hardly eat meat, so they'd eat maybe once or twice a week meat when they could catch it. Obviously, like vitamin D free because they're in the sunshine, because it's Papua New Guinea. So so the lifestyle that they were, and then the other thing is as well, they were doing vigorous exercise. Now they were asked, would you go to a gym to do training? And they would go, no, don't be stupid, do things like that. That's just a waste of energy. But when they looked at them, what they were doing, it was counted as vigorous activity, 3 hours of vigorous activity a day, just from how they were living and what they had to do. And the other thing is as well is the group thing, the group dynamics. Because they had a purpose. This is where the mindset comes into again. They had a purpose of what their purpose was in that support network or that group. They all had a purpose of what they were doing in the group. So that shows that our lifestyle or how we live is very, very different from, and radical environmental shift with all the processed foods now coming in, with the lack of exercise coming in, and all that, and the fast pacedness of especially Western society, and they tried to bring it into Eastern society as well with the China study, because the China study shows this as well. China, all of a sudden, cancer rates skyrocketed as soon as you start bringing McDonald's and things into there. That's what's causing a lot of these problems. And as we said before at the start of this, whatever you do in your body affects your mind. Whatever you do in your mind affects your body. The whole of your system operates as a whole. So therefore, if the regular behavior that you're doing 3 or 4 times a day, nutrition, that is going to be affecting how you think, how your mood is, how your energy levels are. If you've got low energy, you've got a low mood. Of course, you're going to have that. Why would you not have that? If you haven't got nutritions in your body, which can't help you, which can't help your neurons, can't help your brain, can't help your microbiome in your stomach, or the bugs in your stomach operate properly, then why do you think you're going to be suffering from things like ADHD and anxiety, depression, and all the other things? You have to be, because you can't function properly. So there is always going to be something that's going wrong. But another issue, I mean, this is for another time, but another issue is that when people then go to the doctors, especially the normal GPs who are not trained in this either, who've had one day of training,
nutrition for 40 years, 7 years.
Yeah, but if you go to I challenge you, get your phone out and look at GP courses in the UK and just find out what modules they do. So find out if they do anything on physical activity or nutrition or mental health, and they will not do that. It's all about how do you give, what are the symptoms, what drugs do we give, what, That's all it is. That's all it is, pharmacology. So
I'm dealing.
yeah. So that is a big problem. And as I said, like I met the person who trains all the doctors in the country on nutrition. So she was at the thing as well, the same year. And I was talking to her about it. She goes, yeah, I go around and train them all. And she goes, they only do one day, like a year. It's like, and that's it. And she goes, you've learned more than what they know today. So it's like, and it's not unless they go and do their own courses or things that they're interested in. The good news is that you've got the functional medicine doctors. So the functional medicine doctors, a lot of those in America at the moment, they are coming across to and they're starting to work. It is changing very slowly. So in about 20 years' time, we're going to have functional medicine doctors here. I mean, replace of the general practitioners who will know or to be able to use food as medicine and start having the meditation groups, start to be sitting there going, right, okay, we're gonna do that. You're gonna do some exercise. We'll deal with the symptoms with this pill, but like only for a short term. But like in the meantime, you're gonna do exercise, you're gonna do meditation, and we're gonna send you to a cooking group so you know what foods to have and what to avoid and how to change it all around. That's coming later down the line, but right now, as you said, as the theme of this is, you have to take personal responsibility for yourself. Do not get, it's too important to give to anybody else to be in charge of. Because I have so many people, I know that you get like people have been sent to me, and all it is they're saying, I go, so what's your purpose for being here to see me today? The doctor told me to come. That's no. No. You have to come up with an intention, something you want to do. What do you want to achieve? What is it that's being held back? That's what you want to do. And with that, James, any last words before we go?
Well, all I'd like to say is everyone stay healthy. There's something that did pop into my mind when you brought up the MDs, because a lot of people that come to see Joe and I are people who have been around the block. They've gone to these various doctors, they've done this, they've done that, and then eventually someone refers us, and then I'm dealing with a body that's been riddled with all sorts of stuff, you know, with the pharmacology, with the pharmaceuticals and the poor diet, and then they expect a magic pill. There's no magic pill. The magic pill is personal responsibility and the change of personal culture, you know, and that's just, you know, that's the key to everything. And then the personal culture change, like we did, like you did, is to learn, to learn about the things that are out there. This information is out there. It is out, you know, but you have to look for it. And you have to be determined to want to change your lifestyle, to find this stuff and implement it. So people, don't take your health is your greatest wealth. You are your best investment. I tell my clients this all the time. You are your number one investment. Nothing is more important than you to you. So, you know, take care of yourself and you know, learn about your body. And most people can tell you what about if they're into boats or if they're into cars, they'll break the thing down into bits. But the body that has to do all those things, they have no idea about. That's the number one thing that we need to focus on. So people, please take care of yourselves.
Yeah, and as I said, this is not me having a go at the doctors and nurses, because they want to know this stuff. They're begging, but they're controlled by drug companies who have stopped preventing all of this from happening. So the doctors and the nurses, they're the ones that are like sitting there, like, because I know a lot of them, and they're saying, we want to learn. We only done 4 hours. It's like they're sitting there going, we want to learn more because we want to be able to give people that, because we know that they need it. So they're crying out for this as well.
Their intentions are to heal people. It's just that now, if you have a kid and you say, what do you want to be? And they want to be a healer. Well, all they know that are healers, the only modality they know of healing are doctors. So then they grow up and want to be doctors, and then they get there and realize that, is this really healing or is this drug dealing? You know, and they eventually, the truth is, some of them, I mean, and I have met some really phenomenal doctors, I have to say, and I have to put that out there. Some phenomenal doctors who have been through medical school, but continued learning. So, you know, the whole point is about continual learning, who continued learning and will tell you some of the stuff that we're saying now, you know, and they'll tell you and they say, listen, I'm a doctor, and what that guy's talking about is spot on. You know, so
can I constant and never-ending improvement.
Yes.
You know? So that's and so constant never-ending improvement. And so so next month then we will do another podcast, probably, like, since we've talked about it so much, probably on mindset. I think that would be a good one for next one. So we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do mindset on the next one. Since we've talked about it, since we want to get people in the mindset to then continue to learn and apply the knowledge. Remember, it's not just knowledge is power, it's applied knowledge implemented systematically is power. So it's not just, you can sit there and take notes of things, but if you don't do anything with it, then nothing's going to happen. So you have to do something, and you have to know when to apply it, when be strategic about it, and that comes with mindset and knowing how to plan for this. So, but with that, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Thank you very much, James, and we'll see you next month for the next one. So thank you very much. See you later.